But the worst part about the capital gains tax is that Biden wants to impose a 25% tax on unrealized capital gains. It is definitely unconstitutional because it's not an income tax. Because if you haven't realized the gain, you have no income subject to tax under the 16th Amendment. It's a property tax. You're taxing property, and property taxes are direct taxes. They're still bound by the rule of apportionment. They're not exempted through the 16th Amendment, so it would be unconstitutional. But it would also be economically destructive to try to force people to pay taxes on income they haven't even received. They'd have to sell their assets. Imagine having to appraise your illiquid assets every year and then have to pay some kind of tax without having the liquidity to actually pay it. It would be an economic disaster if that were to be passed. And call it an income tax. Look, the states can levy a property tax because the states are not bound by the rule of apportionment of direct taxes. But the federal government can't do that. That's why we don't have a federal property tax. Believe me, if they could get away with it, they would. But you can't disguise a property tax as an income tax by claiming, well, we're only going to tax the appreciation of the property. It doesn't matter. You haven't sold it. There's no income, so you're taxing the property. But the other problem with the corporate tax hike, nobody seems to understand. Corporations don't really pay taxes. They collect taxes. When you're talking about taxing a corporation, you're taxing the shareholders, you're taxing the employees and the customers. So that's the American public. One way or another, all corporate taxes are paid by the public. So if you're raising the corporate tax, you're raising the taxes on their employees, their shareholders, and their customers. That's it. It's the exit taxes. They know people are going to try to leave the country if this kind of stuff actually passed. Now, of course, it's not going to pass. At least, we've got some Republicans with some sense in the House. So this is just red meat to the base, right? The socialists that dominate the base of the Democratic Party, yeah, they want to soak the rich. Remember, the only reason we have an income tax is because the government promised that it was only for the billionaires. It was for the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. And it was only 4% when it first started back in 1916. So the government lied to the public because as soon as they got the income tax passed, they started jacking up the rates. And then by the 1940s, they introduced a withholding tax. And the next thing you knew, everybody was paying the tax. So the same thing would happen. These taxes that are supposedly for the millionaires and the billionaires, that's just the camel's nose under the tent. Once you allow the nose in, the entire camel's coming in. It's just a pretense. Biden is going after the middle class because that's where the money is. One thing's important, though. When you tax the rich, you're not taking away the money that they would spend on consumption. They have plenty of money to have a good time. You're taking away the money that they would have invested in growing the economy, producing products, creating jobs. So you actually shoot yourself in the foot. It's the middle class and the poor that suffer more when you raise taxes on the rich. They just don't realize that. Yeah, the public usually gets it wrong. But here's an example where they get it right, because that's obvious. They know how their personal lives are doing. They're struggling. They're working 2 or 3 jobs to get the same income that they used to get from one job, yet they can't make ends meet. We got numbers today. The savings rate collapsed down to 3.2%. Inflation expectations rose. Spending went up, but not because people are buying more, but because they're paying more. That's why consumer confidence unexpectedly went down yet again. The voters know how bad this economy is because they're living in it. They're not buying media and the Democrats are trying to sell, or even Wall Street. Everybody is sugarcoating the economy. We're in a recession. It's actually stagflation. We have a weak economy and we have strong inflation, the worst of both worlds.